At a silent railway station, just minutes before her wedding train arrived, a millionaire cowboy stepped directly in front of a young bride and made a shocking request. His voice was low but desperate as he said, "Please come with me, my twins need a mother." The bride's fingers tightened around her bouquet, and her heartbeat grew louder than the distant train whistle. People on the platform slowly turned to watch. She was dressed in white, ready to begin a perfect life with a respectable man waiting for her at the next station. Everything had been planned carefully. Nothing was supposed to change. Yet the pain in the cowboy's eyes told a story deeper than wealth or pride. He was not asking for love. He was asking for help. The air felt heavy. Time seemed to stop. One step toward the train meant safety. One step toward the cowboy meant sacrifice. And everyone waited to see which direction she would choose. She had dreamed about this wedding day since childhood, imagining music, laughter, and a peaceful future with a kind and respectable man from town. Her white dress fit her perfectly, and the bouquet in her hands smelled of fresh roses and hope. Family members had blessed her, friends had praised her luck, and everyone believed she was stepping into a secure and honorable life. On the outside, she looked calm and grateful, exactly how a bride should look. Yet inside her heart, a quiet doubt refused to disappear. The smiles around her felt distant, and the excitement did not reach her soul. As she stood at the railway station waiting for the train that would carry her to her new home, she felt as if something unseen was about to interrupt her carefully planned future. She did not know that this ordinary morning would test her courage, her compassion, and the true meaning of love. She did not know that the man standing before her carried a sorrow heavier than any fortune he owned. He was the wealthiest ranch owner in the entire region, admired for his strength, discipline, and success. Yet none of that power had saved him from the cruel silence that filled his mansion each night. Months earlier, his wife had fallen ill suddenly and never recovered. Leaving him alone with newborn twins who entered the world at the same moment, he felt his own world collapse. Since that day, the grand house that once echoed with laughter had turned into a place of restless cries and sleepless nights. The twins were fragile and innocent, too young to understand loss, yet old enough to feel the absence of a mother's touch. He had hired experienced nannies with excellent references, gentle housekeepers who promised care, and even invited distant relatives to stay, but every attempt felt temporary and empty. The babies would calm for a moment, then begin crying again as if their hearts recognized that something essential was missing. He spent long nights walking across the wooden floors with one child in each arm, whispering soft promises that he feared he could not keep. His business partners noticed the dark circles under his eyes, and the ranch workers spoke quietly about how their once confident employer now looked distracted and distant. Wealth brought comfort, yet it could not create warmth. Respect earned admiration, yet it could not replace tenderness. He realized that his children did not need another employee. They needed someone willing to stay, someone whose presence would not disappear after sunset. That painful understanding led him to the railway station on this very morning, driven not by pride, but by desperation. When he saw the bride in her white dress, something within him stirred, not romance, but recognition of kindness he had witnessed in her before, small acts of compassion she had shown to strangers without expecting praise. He stepped forward with hesitation, fully aware that interrupting her wedding day could damage his reputation and invite judgment from the entire town. Still, the image of his twins reaching out with tiny hands pushed him beyond hesitation. His voice trembled slightly, not from fear of rejection for himself, but from fear of returning home once again with no solution for the children waiting in their cribs. In that fragile moment, he was not a powerful millionaire. He was simply a father searching for hope in the most unexpected place in that fragile moment. He was not a powerful millionaire. He was simply a father searching for hope in the most unexpected place. And when he finally gathered the courage to speak again, his eyes did not carry authority, but humility as he looked straight into hers and made a request no one had prepared for. He did not speak about wealth, property, or comfort, and he did not try to impress her with promises of luxury or admiration. Instead, his voice remained steady yet heavy with emotion as he said that his children needed warmth, that they needed someone who would remain beside them when the nights felt long and frightening. The words were simple, yet they carried the weight of sleepless months and silent tears. He was not offering a fairy tale. He was asking for compassion. The bride felt her pulse quicken beneath the delicate lace of her dress, and the bouquet in her hands suddenly felt heavier than before. This moment did not belong to her careful plans or the future everyone had designed for her. She had imagined partnership, celebration, and a gradual journey into marriage, not an immediate step into motherhood for two infants who had already faced loss. The station seemed to fade as his quiet plea echoed in her thoughts. She studied his expression and saw sincerity without manipulation, desperation without pride. He did not move closer to pressure her, nor did he attempt to rush her answer. He simply stood there, exposed and vulnerable, as if placing his entire world before her and waiting for judgment. Around them, the distant rumble of the approaching train blended with the restless murmur of onlookers who sensed the seriousness of the exchange. The bride's mind filled with questions she had never considered before. Could she walk away knowing two children would continue to search for comfort? Could she abandon the life she had prepared for something so uncertain? Fear whispered that she would lose stability and invite criticism, yet another voice within her reminded her that safety does not always equal purpose. The cowboy's hands remained calm at his sides, but the faint tension in his posture revealed how much depended on her response. He was not asking her to replace a memory or erase the past. He was asking her to help shape a future. The simplicity of his appeal made it impossible to dismiss. For the first time that morning, the bride felt that her decision would not only define her own path, but also determine the direction of two small lives waiting miles away. Time pressed forward, yet her heart hesitated between expectation and compassion, knowing that whatever she chose would change everything forever. Time pressed forward, yet her heart hesitated between expectation and compassion, knowing that whatever she chose would change everything forever. And just then the sharp whistle of the arriving train cut through the heavy air like a final warning. Steam rose along the tracks, and the sound vibrated beneath her feet, reminding her that the life arranged for her was only moments away. At the next station, her fiancé was likely standing straight with confidence, believing his bride would step off the train smiling, ready to begin a respectable marriage built on stability and shared plans. He was a decent man, steady and kind, offering her security and a predictable future within familiar streets. The townspeople surrounding the platform leaned closer, their whispers growing louder as they sensed that something unusual was unfolding before their eyes. She felt their judgment without needing to hear their words. In one direction stood certainty, approval, and a life free from sudden burdens. In the other stood a grieving father and two infants who needed more than money could provide. Her breathing grew uneven as she imagined herself inside the comfortable home prepared for her, hosting dinners, attending social gatherings, and living quietly according to expectation. That path required no risk, no sacrifice beyond ordinary commitment. Yet when she pictured the twins reaching out in confusion during long nights, her chest tightened with a feeling she could not ignore. Responsibility frightened her, but indifference frightened her more. She realized that comfort could protect her from hardship, yet it might also distance her from meaning. The cowboy remained silent, allowing her the space to decide, his gaze lowered now as if he refused to pressure her further. That restraint spoke louder than persuasion. The train slowed, metal wheels screeching as if counting down the seconds of her hesitation. A conductor called out instructions, urging passengers to prepare for boarding. She felt as though the entire world had narrowed to the space between two steps. One would carry her toward applause and tradition. The other would lead her into uncertainty, sleepless nights, and a role she had never trained for. Doubt surrounded her like a storm, yet beneath it she sensed a quiet strength rising. For the first time, she questioned whether safety alone could bring fulfillment. The future she had chosen suddenly seemed small compared to the chance to transform pain into healing. The whistle sounded again, louder and more urgent, and in that trembling pause she understood that destiny rarely waits for perfect readiness. It demands courage in the middle of fear, and the choice before her would reveal who she truly was. It demands courage in the middle of fear, and the choice before her would reveal who she truly was. And as that realization settled within her, tears gathered in her eyes not from weakness but from clarity. She looked at the cowboy's trembling hands and heard the fragile hope hidden beneath his steady tone, and suddenly the noise of the station faded into silence. In her mind, she saw two small children lying awake in a large, quiet house, reaching toward a doorway that never opened, crying until exhaustion replaced their strength. She imagined birthdays without a mother's smile, first steps without gentle applause, and bedtime stories replaced by empty halls. The image pierced deeper than any promise of comfort ever could. Her fingers loosened around the bouquet, and the flowers that once symbolized celebration now felt like a reminder of a life chosen for convenience rather than calling. A subtle shift moved through her heart, firm and undeniable, guiding her away from fear. The train wheels began turning slowly beside her, metal grinding against steel as passengers stepped aboard with hurried movements. The conductor called her ticket number, expecting her to respond, yet her feet remained still against the platform. She sensed the weight of many eyes watching, waiting to witness her final decision, but the judgment of strangers no longer controlled her thoughts. Instead, she focused on the simple truth standing before her. Two innocent lives needed protection more than she needed approval. The cowboy did not speak again. He understood that this moment belonged entirely to her. Steam surrounded them like mist, creating a narrow world where only their shared silence existed. She inhaled deeply, feeling both fear and determination rise together, and gently lowered the bouquet to her side. The movement was small yet powerful, signaling that she was releasing the path prepared for her since childhood. The train gained speed, its windows passing by one after another, carrying away expectations, security, and familiarity. Still, she did not step forward. Her choice formed quietly but completely, rooted in compassion stronger than hesitation. She realized that love does not always arrive wrapped in romance. Sometimes it appears disguised as responsibility. With tears resting on her cheeks and strength building in her posture, she turned slightly toward the man who had risked everything to ask for help. In that irreversible second, she accepted that her future would not be defined by ease but by impact, and though uncertainty waited ahead, she felt a peace deeper than any guarantee the departing train could have offered. With tears resting on her cheeks and strength building in her posture, she lifted her eyes and met his uncertain gaze, then took one steady step toward him as the train disappeared down the tracks, carrying away the life she once believed was meant for her. A quiet gasp moved through the crowd, but she no longer feared their judgment because her heart felt lighter than it had all morning. The cowboy's expression shifted from disbelief to gratitude so deep it needed no words. In that simple movement, she chose purpose over comfort and compassion over convenience. She was not rescuing a wealthy man. She was protecting two fragile souls who deserved warmth and guidance. The station slowly returned to normal, yet nothing about her world remained the same. That day, she did not lose a future. She claimed a greater one. And in giving those children a mother's love, she discovered the courage that would define the rest of her life.